I don't know why I took it off because I'll only be 5 minutes and then I go and sit down. Inhlikani, Amsheli, Dumelang. I see Professor Marigel and them are not here yet. I was hoping they would enjoy that greeting that I just gave. Vitarame, Ime, Samuel Nzamwisi, Noma Ezanin, Ngongoa, Limpopo province. What I just said is that my name is Samuel Nzamwisi. I come from Zanin in the Limpopo province of South Africa. For me, it's very important that for you to get to, for me to express myself better, I speak in my own language of where I come from, which ties into my topic where I'm going to look at indigenous languages from a promotion and preservation perspective using social media. So in the past, it has been promoted that indigenous languages do not become successful in South Africa. And during my master's degree, I looked at challenges encountered by indigenous language producers and producing indigenous language films. And I traced about 10 films and found that they actually did well at the box office. Just that there are other challenges that are there, like for example, they are not equated in the same number of cinemas as other films when it comes to the box office. Just to name one, but a few. But let me get back on topic so that I stick to my 5 minutes. So as I said, the purpose of this is to explore how social media, specifically looking at YouTube, because I mean, social media is wide and vast. Otherwise we'd be here the whole day. And also I'm looking specifically at YouTube because YouTube, at the moment, unlike platforms like TikTok, allows you to place longer form content. And I'm specifically looking at feature films so that you don't think I'm running all over the show. There's a disclaimer that I'm going to give at the beginning of this, that this specific, normally with other articles I've written, you find that I know exactly what I'm writing about from beginning to end, but with this one, I will appreciate any of your views to help me refine it. So basically, Xitsonga, hopefully all of you know that it is one of the 11 official languages in South Africa. But in other areas where I greeted the way that I did earlier on when I introduced myself, you find that especially here in KZN, you speak Xitsonga and then they think you're from Mozambique or Zimbabwe or elsewhere. So one thing that we always have to bear in mind, friends and colleagues, is that although arts or filmmaking as per se is not always about languages, I mean, you can tell stories in any form or shape and people will still get the end of it, but tied to language is culture and identity. And when we are not equally represented, and by the way, I speak very fair isiZulu, but guess where I learned isiZulu? From watching news on TV. Because content on television, especially on SABC, growing up all my life, has always been in isiZulu. Any other program that you watch. And then you ask for 2 seconds to at least place your language content on TV, and then they say you're bringing identity politics and other things. It's not that it's at the forefront of things, but it is just to say, at least please let us also be representatives, because going with that is identity and culture. So currently, indigenous languages are often marginalized in mainstream media. I mean, if you look at television, I'll come back to social media to put it into perspective. We were given, I come back to Xitsonga specifically. We were given this program, it's called the soap opera, called Giyani Land of Blood. It played on SABC2. That's probably like the only soap opera outside of news that you'll see that is made in Xitsonga content on television. And I mean, some of us, in my humble opinion, 2 cents worth, we can make great films, even in our languages, that can compete with some of these. All we need is just a platform. So all I'm saying with this is that we feel that some are marginalized and we could do with some equal, well, not equal, but some form of representation. And So basically, I'm going to look more at social media metrics as a way to measure how, in terms of reach, and mainly reach, like how far this can go, and so how many people it can get to. From a literature review perspective, I will just name 3 people so that I do not spend a whole day here. My 5 minutes is left with 3 minutes. Ngungi wa Thiong'o speaks about writing in your own languages. And then on the other end of the perspective, you've got Chinua Achebe, who says, well, if we don't write in English, even if you're expressing what you are promoting in your own language, we might miss the mark and we might not be heard with what we are saying. So I do not necessarily agree or disagree with any of them, but all I'm saying is at least let all languages get some form of representation, because within them, and also it becomes a unique selling proposition, because if culture and identity and all these things are embedded within the language, it means the unique selling propositions from movies that we need from South Africa could come from some of those cultural aspects that are there. Literature review gone. I hope you're learning how to quickly go past this. Social media's role in film and distribution. So we all know that the social media is growing as a platform, and so there are many opportunities that we can use, and plus for us who are not necessarily given space on the larger platforms, we can utilize this space so that at least our films are still well received all around the world. Then the nice thing about social media is that now you can film a very small video where we are now, put it on social media, and in no time it's already reached almost everyone around the world. I mean, we saw even with the song Jerusalem the one time when well, I know some of you are still learning how to dance that, but you'll get around to it. So it's mainly about the reach, it's about the engagement, it's about the low barriers to entry, and community building as a platform. Of course, during lunch I was speaking to some people that one of the challenges that I still think we have in the academic space is that yes, we are making all this good content, we are coming together, we are discussing all these great ideas and things, but at the end of the day, we still have to figure out how our art is going to make money so that we make a living out of it, lest we die poor while discussing and we have no gratitude. So I am conscious of that fact, but here I have to stay within my lane and focus on the fact that I'm looking at language preservation and promotion. So there has been previous research that has looked at this. I know that even today we're discussing whether there's a need for theories or no need for theories, but anyway, I will just go past them. There's one main one that I'll be focusing on in this study. The social media theory, in my view, is not all together. Because if you were to Google this word like 3 times, even on Google Scholar, you'd get 4 types of theories. So it's still in the making, in my own opinion. But some of you maybe can help me better in this perspective. But the language revitalization theory is what is really important to me, because it says it takes 3 steps for a language to die. First, you find that the people can no longer, or maybe they speak in another language more than their own. And then in the second phase, they can't even speak their own language. Look, I forgot to read my material before this, but basically by the 3rd phase of it, you find that you can't even express yourself in your own language at any point. So that became very important to me to think. I mean, even at home, I sometimes go home and you find that the young ones, if you greet them in Xitsonga like I greeted you earlier on, they can't even relate back to you. And then you're thinking, where are we going with this? Could Xitsonga actually become extinct in a few years' time? So hence, I find it important that we preserve, promote, and revitalize some of these languages. And theoretical framework, as I mentioned, that was David Crystal's framework, the stages of language decline. And then the social media one, I'll explain later, but for me, it's still not all together. But what I take from it is the metrics of measuring how far the content can reach. So the methodology was mixed method. I did the literature review. The main importance of the literature review was to look at the challenges and ethical considerations that you have to keep in mind when, because you know, these languages, as I said, are tied to culture and identity, which mean a lot to different groups of people. So hence it's very important that you still remain within the ethical considerations. So I looked at some short films on YouTube. Guys, I did not get ethical clearance to do this study, so I prefer not to mention the films, but basically there are two isiZulu short films that have been watched by more than 2 million people on YouTube. Now, these were never promoted or marketed as films made for these platforms for YouTube, but they were watched by more than 2 million people on average. I still have to hunt for others, so once I get that ethical clearance, I will bring this study to light and it will be official. So as I said, those were my findings. And so it means that if we can make films tailor-made for the YouTube channel, even for those people who can't find expression or representation on the bigger platforms, there is social media that can be used for this specific directive. Yeah, I will mention the case studies in my next presentation once everything is... So what I found from an ethical consideration perspective is just that we need to be sensitive and respect different people's cultures in terms of how we represent them. And yeah, guys, it's an ongoing discussion. We need to ensure that there's support and accurate representation which comes from congregations such as these. And yeah, you know, hey, digital content, sometimes you can put things there that are found in different ways. So therefore, yeah, like guys, in summary and in conclusion, I mean, if those films, in my view, can reach as many people as they do, it means the platforms are there, YouTube specifically, as that's the one I looked at, and there is room for other studies. I mean, I cannot prove that just because people watched a program, it helped promote and preserve. That's another study, that's another theory, but here it's the awareness, is the reach to say, at least they had that. If I could hear isiZulu from watching news and I learned isiZulu based on that thinking, then I'm thinking if our films can reach that number of people, then it could go a long way to contribute in helping to preserve and promote our languages. Is there time for questions in my last 15 minutes? You can raise all of them, it's fine.
Does anybody have a question? It doesn't look like it.
I'll ask one. Please can you say your language again? I didn't quite hear it and I'm not familiar with it.
I have proved my
yeah, exactly.
but it's fine. No, I'm joking. My language is Xitsonga or Tsonga.
Tell me something, how many other official South African language do you think need this kind of representation also?
Yeah. Look, as I'm saying, I'm sure even the Zulus with their current representation would still feel that they need more representation. Hence, the SABC is thinking of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things, but they are thinking of going the route where every province is going to almost own its channel slots so that they fill all the content for that region. So maybe that could be one of the founding. As I'm saying, guys, it's not the fact that one identity is fighting against another. It's just to say, as equally as you're being represented there, just also put me next to it because it makes us feel happy and excited as well as people. Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Is there an award for like quickly finishing and answering my questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.